And we are live.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the newest podcast on the Wrestling Horizon. This is Grounds for Development, a new podcast that is featuring the show's 205 Live and NXT. I'm your host, Greg the Hold, also known as the Saskatchewan Spinning Nerve Hold, for those of you that frequent the Cage Side Seats website. I'm joined by my good friend and my co-host, Biff Kensington III. How are you doing today, Biff?
I am the curmudgeon and you are the nice guy. This is the dynamic that we want to extrapolate here. You kill them with kindness and I'll kill them with piss and vinegar. Otherwise,
well, there we go.
Good. I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I am doing excellent. I am very much enjoyed the two shows that we decided that we are going to focus on here. Personally, I believe that these are probably, out of the WWE product, the best two shows that they put out on a weekly basis. So I'm very excited for this new pod, and I hope that the listeners and yourself are as excited as I am.
Oh, very much so. I mean, when you talk about WWE, there's just honestly, this idea has been a while in the making, but it really picked up steam in the last couple of weeks. And you were kind of responsible for this at the Cage Side Seats website. You were kind of at the forefront of almost a mini movement, kind of shedding light on how much cynicism is in the community of wrestling fans right now. There's just such an antagonism from online fans towards the main roster product. And when you look at 205 Live and NXT, we have a chance to cover shows that are much more popular, not necessarily getting the coverage they deserve, but shows that are much more well received. And so I think it's just a great chance for us to kind of turn the page on the cynical attitude towards the main roster product and look at two shows on the network that allow us just to have fun and be fans. And I think you're going to see that as it goes through on the podcast, where we're just enjoying what we're talking about. And that's what wrestling should be about, I think. We should just be having fun,
Exactly. And thanks for the mention of those fan posts. The support that those received blew me away and my son as well. To be quite honest, I never expected the support that they received. So it was great to see. And I thank everybody who's read them and liked them and commented on them. It's greatly appreciated.
We are going to have to chat after the show, though. We need to educate him on the glory of the revival. I have a bone to pick with young Scatch, as I call him. His dislike for the revival pains me a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. So. Oh,
well, this will then warm your heart, because you got that backwards, Mr. Kensington. Young Scatch is a huge fan of the revival. They are probably his favorite tag team on the main roster right now.
Well, I'm old. Okay, all right. So, but I'm Tish. There we go. All right. First mistake of the night goes to Mr. Biff Kensington. I apologize, young Scatch. Your taste is excellent. Who was it that he didn't like that everybody else likes generally? Might have been the New Day. I might be thinking of the New Day.
Yeah, it was the New Day. He has an extreme distaste for the New Day. But
does he hate pancakes or does he hate fun? I mean, I'm just curious.
I'm not exactly sure where that comes from, to be perfectly honest, but it's the thoughts of a 7-year-old, and I can't really debate them.
Well, he likes the revival, so he's got a future. We'll work on the New Day love as he gets older, and hopefully he'll come to appreciate the greatness that is Xavier Woods, Big E, and Kofi Kingston. So
absolutely. Back to our normal topics of discussion going forward here. How about we start going into 205 Live and their show this week?
Sounds like a winner to me. That's really kind of what the core focus of our show is going to be about, is recapping the events from 205 Live and NXT each week. Basically, what we want to provide you with is not so much a blow-by-blow of what happens. We just want to have, a good conversation about what we liked, what we might have not liked so much, but kind of give you a sense of where things are going with the two shows, and hopefully instill in you a desire to check it out. And honestly, if you needed the point to jump in, this was a pretty good week to jump in for 205 Live especially. There was some really good matches on the show.
Yeah, it was a great show. And jumping into 205 Live, I find is quite a bit easier than some of the other shows, just with the way they start their shows and how they have their general manager, Drake Maverick. He comes out first on all the shows that I've seen for the most part, and he gives you a rundown of what's going to happen and kind of gives a little backstory on what the matches are. So as a new viewer, it's a very helpful little tool to introduce you to the action that you're going to see that night.
Yeah, it's really old school in the presentation in that way. It's kind of unique in the sense both 205 Live and NXT are like this. Even though they present wrestling action that would be considered kind of a new school, definitely more modern, fast-paced style that you would more likely see in Japan or in Mexico, the production itself with the general manager and the way they kind of use their authority figures, it's really old school. Here's a name from the past. If you ever remember watching old school WWF and President Jack Tunney, Jack on the Take Tunney, he would only come out with, he needed to. He's not overbearing like a heel authority figure. Drake Maverick and William Regal, too, they're both like the perfect archetype of an authority figure. And just like you said, it gives you a great jumping off point to get in. Because 205 Live, it's not just about the matches. They have storylines that they run. It's just like Raw and SmackDown. Quite a few feuds going and quite a few different rivalries kind of brewing over the Cruiserweight Championship, which is the centerpiece of the show.
Absolutely. And that leads very nicely into our first match of the night. One Mr. Buddy Murphy versus Gran Metalik of the Lucha House Party. Buddy and his friend Tony Nese have been having a little issues with Lucha House Party for the last couple of weeks, and this here was the first match on 205 Live.
Would you say that Buddy Murphy is probably maybe not the MVP of the brand, because you could almost make the argument that Cedric Alexander or Mustafa Ali have kind of become like the heart and soul of the show, but Buddy Murphy, I think would have to be in the running for the surprise of the year. Would you agree with that? Because he's really come out of nowhere, it seems like, and he's just become literally what his nickname is, a juggernaut on this show, producing quality matches just out the yin-yang.
Buddy Murphy right now is probably one of my favorite wrestlers in WWE. The last few weeks that I've been really getting into the show and following, I don't think I've seen Buddy Murphy put on a bad match. The guy is incredible. And I think just his size makes him stand out from the rest of the 205 Live. Like, I mean, he's not like, I mean, he's built at 203 pounds, so he fits right in there. But he sure doesn't look like he's 203 pounds.
Well, for one thing, I'm jealous as all get out because he looks like he lives in the gym. I mean, I'm going to get that right out of there. He's got like a 6-pack going, and I've got a keg going here. So that's one thing, a little bit jealous of him. But, it's one of those deals where people that watched him in Australia, they knew that he had talent. And I'm not saying that he was a disappointment in NXT because, Blake and Murphy, they had a solid run as tag champions. It's just I never appreciated what Murphy could bring to the table until I saw him on 205 Live. Like, I never realized how, insanely talented this guy is. I mean, he is just a beast in the ring, and he's putting on classic matches with all sorts of opponents. And, it's really starting to sink in, hey, this guy has some serious potential, not just, to be a great piece on 205 Live. This guy could be a Cruiserweight champion and be a centerpiece of this show. He's got that kind of talent.
Oh, I would totally agree with that. And it's not just the look. Like, he's a solid promo. He's got moves coming out the yin yang. Like, he's got power moves. He can do some of the flying if he needs to, but the power moves set him aside from everybody else who's doing all the showy stuff. And man, the guy can sell too. Like that sell on that sunset power bomb. that Grand Metalik threw on him. Like the sell job on that was incredible.
They have solid chemistry. I mean, this whole match was nice high spots, good psychology. I mean, it started off a very deliberate pace, but they picked it up really nicely towards the middle section of the match. But everything Murphy does, he just looks so crisp. And we're not saying this to downplay Grand Metalik. I mean, he held his own in this match too. He's also an exceptionally good wrestler, but Buddy Murphy just has the intangibles that just make you sit up and take notice. He has it. You hear wrestlers talk about that a lot. The guys just have it, and Buddy Murphy just oozes that natural presence and charisma that makes a really successful wrestler, I think.
I would totally agree with that. Like I said earlier, he's probably right now in my can't miss guys of the week. Anytime I hear that there's a Buddy Murphy match on, I know that I'm going to be a witness to a good match and enjoy myself.
Those are the best kinds of matches. And that's what 205 Live produces often. You have matches that are set up, 2 weeks in advance, so you kind of know what you're getting to look forward to. Next week, we've got Drew Gulak and Cedric Alexander. We've also got Noam Dar and Leo Rush. So, I mean, those two matches are going to be fantastic. But like you said, Buddy Murphy, you're getting quality. He never mails it in. He's always got, his foot on the gas. And honestly, I think what Buddy Murphy brings to the table more than any other performer in NXT right now, Drew Gulak has a certain ferociousness about him, and Jack Gallagher has a hard-hitting offense, but Buddy Murphy just oozes this dangerous vibe. Murphy is a serious threat. Like, you don't expect Drew Gulak to unseat Cedric Alexander. If he did, it would be kind of a shock. Buddy Murphy, on the other hand, you could easily see him beating Alexander and not being surprised in the least. He's just got that top-level mentality, and honestly, he's one of the few guys on 205 Live that I could honestly see transcending this level from being a really good hand to the tip-top guy. He could easily be the next incarnation of Neville for the show.
Yeah, no, that's a great analogy or comparison between him and Neville. And then to top it off, he also has his little stable and backup in his buddy Tony, my abs have abs niece. So you can put him into the tag teams, you can put him singles, and he's gonna steal the show every time.
How did creative not give Buddy Murphy and Tony Nese the team name Absolution?
You know what? I have no idea. Now that you bring that up, that's what they are for going forward.
Makes me sick. Nobody should be that ripped. Tony Nese is more ripped than Buddy Murphy, but I mean, I like Tony Nese too, but Buddy Murphy, his stock continues to rise. He's been the revelation this year. Him and Mustafa Ali are probably running neck and neck in terms of just breakout success on 205 Live. Both of those guys are going to go very far in this company, I think.
Absolutely, and that leads nicely into the next part of the 205 show. We got a recap of the whole Mustafa Ali injury and issues with Hideo Itami, and then after that, a typical great WWE look back video clips. The company does these so well, so it gives you this storyline even if you don't really know what's going on. They cover the last month of what's going on for you, so you're caught up. You know what's happening, and then we got into Mr. Ali fighting with the local enhancement talent. I believe his name was Michael Thompson. And any thoughts on this match? Otherwise
known as Michael, thanks for coming, Thompson. Yeah, this was you're not going to Mustafa Ali, obviously, in this match, he's not going to give you the kind of showcase that Murphy and Metalik did. This is purely enhancement. It's just to give Ali kind of a signature win. But Mustafa Ali, he has an equally good story along with Murphy in terms of breakout success. That amazing run in the Cruiserweight title tournament this past spring, culminating in the a really underrated match with Cedric Alexander at WrestleMania in New Orleans. He's had, the angle with Hideo Itami, which let's just take a moment to pay reverence to the fact that Hideo Itami is on 205 Live now. Just one of the best wrestlers in the world over the last decade. He's just kind of hanging out in 205 Live. So, no biggie.
Yeah, and we should mention that before the match started, and during the match, he came out onto the ramp and was doing a little promo and just kind of being a real smarmy little a-hole, to be perfectly honest. And he sold it really well. And I liked how Mustafa Ali kept giving him the looks, to show that his mind wasn't necessarily on the match. It's more on getting to Itami. So they're building that feud quite nicely.
Yeah, I am very much looking forward to those matches because you've got two guys in Itami and Ali that can go in the ring. So you're getting quality. But, this is exactly what 205 Live does so well. You mentioned the recap package before the show. And this is, it's not a knock on the main roster so much as it is a credit to what 205 Live does. They don't inundate you with constant recaps. And that's as much an issue of time management as anything, but they give you the good rundown, the video package, get you caught up, but then they move on. On Raw, you'll have like 15 replays of a segment you saw 20 minutes ago. Here, they'll at least, let angles breathe a little bit, kind of give you more of that slow burn and development. Ali coming back from the injury angle from a month ago. Hideo Itami, like you said, out, kind of, stirring the pot a little bit, just trying to be a jerk. Ali takes quick work of Michael Thompson. It's enhancement talent. It's just a little showcase. Nothing too awful special, but it does give you a little preview, a little appetizer to hold you over until Mustafa Ali and Hideo Itami can get in the ring. And I'm guessing that'll probably happen within the next 2 or 3 weeks. That seems to be a collision course that we're going to be getting to enjoy very shortly.
Yeah, I would say that that's coming down the pipe pretty quick here, and I'm quite looking forward to it. And even though it was against enhancement talent there, Mustafa Ali just looks so smooth in the ring. Like, the guy just flows from one move to another. He's such a pleasure to watch.
It's almost like watching a Cirque du Soleil performance with Ali. It's just that graceful movement. You get some wrestlers in there that are just really clunky, and they're really athletic. They're great performers, but there's another level that certain performers can take it to. Your Will Ospreays, your Mustafa Ali's, where it almost defies logic and reason that they can do the things that they do. We haven't seen Ali really bust out and just go 100 miles an hour yet on this brand. And when we do, I'm telling you right now, it's a contender for match of the year. He has got that kind of talent in him. Mustafa Ali can absolutely bring it and give you a match that you're talking about for weeks and months to come. I am so looking forward to this feud. It's really going to be something special, and I think people, if you need a reason to get into 205 Live, if this is your kind of first taste of 205 Live, Mustafa Ali and Hideo Itami, they're going to give you a show. So get on the train now because it's pulling out of the station and you don't want to miss this.
Absolutely. So then after that match, we moved into, it was a backstage segment with Drew Gulak and Jack Gallagher with Drake Maverick. It was your standard backstage segment. The one thing that really stood out to me in that segment was that they acknowledged Drake Maverick being the manager for AOP and just the threat of, possibly bringing AOP to settle the issues that Gulak and Gallagher were having. I thought that was a nice touch to give that nod. I mean, I'm personally still not sold on that whole managerial thing, but we'll see where that goes.
I was going to ask you what your thoughts on that was, because honestly, it's such a weird pairing that just kind of came out of nowhere. On the one hand, Drake Maverick, he's a very talented performer. He's good on the microphone, and so good on them for recognizing that the Authors of Pain needed a manager or a mouthpiece. It is kind of weird, though. He's essentially a heel manager on Raw, but he's back to being the fair babyface GM on 205 Live, and it's weird how the shows kind of disconnect like that. This was an interesting and kind of a funny little nod to that, and I'm not saying that it wouldn't be fun to have AOP come in as his enforcers, maybe like 205 Live's version of the APA or something, just kind of hanging out on the couch, drinking beers and watching the show, and stuff goes sideways. AOP cleans it up, but it was just there. But Gallagher and Gulak especially have a really awesome charm about them. Gallagher, me and you are both so high on him. We're high on like all sorts of people. This show's like a drug for us, but it's
that's
just
a very good.
Gallagher's just so good,
So then after that little backstage segment, which, like I said, it was what it was. It moved the storyline of the night forward. It was good. We then went into Noam Dar and Leo Rush's promos. I believe they are fighting next week, so they had their little dueling promos. There wasn't anything amazingly that stood out to me. Leo Rush, I think, is definitely better on the mic than Dar is, but Dar definitely held his own. What were your thoughts on that?
This is a very interesting program. Noam Dar, I like Noam Dar as a performer. I liked him in the Cruiserweight Classic. I'm glad that he got as far as he did. I'm not sure why he is a babyface right now. It's kind of weird. He had some, real momentum going with Alicia Fox over on Raw. And then he got injured and he came back and he's kind of been in the babyface role. Leo Rush, you talk about a Mustafa Ali type that just defies gravity and can just go in the ring. Leo Rush is an incredible performer. I'm looking forward to the match. It's going to be a great match for the undercard next week. In terms of the content of the interviews, like you said, nothing too awful special, but I love the way 205 Live and NXT also, they just set up these matches week to week. It's episodic storytelling done right. These two guys have a feud and they're coming next week and it sets it up for you.
Exactly. And it gives you a reason to care for the matches. It's not just some random match that got thrown together for who knows what reason. It gives some stakes to it, some meaning to what's happening on the show, which for me, it's a throwback to the stuff I grew up watching, where it's like, okay, yeah, they're building to something, and it gives me a reason to care about this.
Exactly. And with only one title on the show right now, you have to have this. You have to have the feuds, the angles, the rivalries that kind of carry the programming. I think that's what really kind of hurt 205 Live early on in its run. It was just kind of a collection of matches. You didn't have a lot in the way of overarching storylines or, really anything that kind of motivated you to keep turning in. Whereas over the last year, especially since they had a kind of a creative shakeup backstage, you have seen the development of these little rivalries, these little grudges that kind of brew, whether it's Buddy Murphy and Tony Nese's problem with Lucha House Party, whether it's Hideo Itami kind of turning into a jerk face and kind of going to the dark side here. We've got, of course, Leo Rush and Noam Dar. They've got their little spat going. Leo Rush, of course, trying to establish himself. And the main event scene, you got Drew Gulak and his little posse kind of mixing it up with Akira Tozawa and Cedric Alexander, setting up for another title match between Gulak and Alexander next week. And that's what they need to do. They just need to have these little angles that give you a reason. Because once you have a feud, like a Mustafa Ali and Hideo Itami, we talked about it earlier. I sat here and gushed over it. That's what they need. They need feuds that people will gush over because that puts eyeballs on the product. It gets me excited to tune in. It gets me to talk with my friends about it. And maybe it gets them to tune in. And that's exactly the way 205 Live has to forge its success. They have to get those rivalries going, and that's what they're doing right now. And it's a really awesome time to be jumping into the product as a result.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was just going to ask a question. Do you think when they record 205 Live after SmackDown. Do you think that the fact that the audience has been burnt out from SmackDown hurts the product any at times?
I think it's an unnecessary handicap. I don't know that it is always the direct cause, because there's different marketplaces, and this is a main roster problem in general. It's not just 205 Live. There will be times where WWE goes to cities that are more amenable to the performers on 205 Live. Brooklyn, Chicago, Philadelphia, Toronto. You get crowds that are kind of more into it. They know the performers. They're more into the shows. There's a quote unquote, large, smart crowd there, so to speak. And I think that those types of crowds help. And when you go into cities, and no offense if you live in these cities, like a Corpus Christi, a Green Bay, Wisconsin, Greenville, South Carolina, and I'm from the Carolinas, so I'm not crapping on the Carolinas wantonly here. It's a different audience, and I don't think that they are into the show yet as much as they could be. Honestly, I think that recording after SmackDown does hurt for the reason you brought up. There is some burnout there, especially when they're in cities that are not like your traditional wrestling hotbeds. This past week was particularly noticeable. In Lafayette, Louisiana, the crowd just kind of felt a little flat, even for some really good matches, whereas if they were in Philadelphia, they probably would have been up for them. So, if it requires a name change to 205 Live and not have false advertising, it definitely makes more sense to me to have 205 Live recorded before SmackDown when the crowd is still energetic, more excited. They're getting into the building, just like they used to do and still do, I guess, on the Raw tapings where they do WWE main event before. I've been to Raws before where they've filmed matches for the syndicated shows, and you're always up and excited because you're there. Wrestling is back in town. You're happy to be there. And you could be watching, total scrubs in the ring, but it doesn't matter. You're happy, you're excited. It's the first match of the night. Whereas to your point, after you've sat through 2 hours of SmackDown, even if SmackDown was exceptionally good, anybody that's been in an arena for more than 2 or 3 hours knows, you're getting tired, you're hot, you're ready to go home. It's getting late. You got work in the morning. You got to get the kids to school in the morning. It just presents an unneeded handicap, I think, to the show. So yeah, I would say that part of it is the crowds, part of it is the burnout, and part of it is location. It's just a matter of kind of working out the intangibles of the production aspect of the show to kind of get things going.
Yeah, and the reason I brought it up is leading into this main event that we had tonight. It was a pretty darn good main event, and the crowd seemed a little dead. But if you go back to last week when they were in Toronto, what was the main event there? Buddy Murphy and Kalisto, which was a hell of a match. That crowd was right on fire, chanting, "This is awesome!" All the things that you see during a really, really good match. So yeah, it was just something that kind of stuck out like a sore thumb to me watching this week's show.
Yeah, that's the one downside, I think, of the product right now and the way they do it. I understand why they want the talent on the road with the main roster because they're paying money. You don't want, you want to have the ability to put them on the live events, which I'm guessing they are. I'm sure they are going on live tours with the main roster. But, it would be great if they could film it before the show, and I know it's kind of weird calling a show 205 Live if it's not live, but it just seems like it's setting up the roster for better success if you have a hotter crowd, and this main event in particular is a shining example. We're going to gush on this match because it was an exceptionally good main event tag match, but if you listen to the crowd, the crowd's just out of it, and you've watched wrestling for long enough, and I've watched wrestling for a long enough time. A dead crowd takes away from a match. It really does. It takes away part of the mystique of a match. You would not imagine, the crowd noise being a big part of making a match good, but it really and truly does. You take that crowd noise out, and it brings things down a notch, which, to the credit of the 4 men in the main event, 2 nights ago, it was an exceptional job by them to get the crowd into it as much as they did. But yeah, it would be wonderful if they could either get into like a Full Sail University type of environment where people are coming to appreciate what they're seeing, or if they could go on before SmackDown maybe and get a more energetic crowd, because these four guys 2 nights ago, they put on a heck of a match and they deserved a really hot crowd.
Absolutely. And for those of you who don't know, our main event this week was Drew Gulak and Jack Gallagher versus Cedric Alexander, the champion of 205 Live, and Akira Tozawa. Like you said, this was a great match, main event match, tag team. All four of these gentlemen can go in the ring, and there's great differences between them. You got Drew, who's doesn't do the high flying, doesn't do any of that stuff. You got Alexander and Tozawa, who they can go in the ring and they can fly anywhere and do anything you want. And then you got Mr. Gentleman Jack Gallagher, who the man is just entertaining as hell. Like, the guy has just all the little intangibles that a wrestler needs. Like, there was the one point where they had, I believe it was Alexander in the corner, and Mr. Gallagher just gives a little dismissive wave with the hand that just, I was loving it. The guy's an amazing talent.
First of all, I love your Canadianness. It's Mr. Gallagher. You're so polite and respectful. I love it. Jack Gallagher is my spirit animal. Okay, I'm going to redneck it up here. He is my spirit animal. I love me some Jack Gallagher. I think he's the most underappreciated performer on the entire roster. And I'm talking main roster, 205 Live, you name it. Jack Gallagher is amazing. But I have to be a homer here for a second. It is 158 days of the age of Alexander. Our king, the Queen City's favorite son, my hometown hero, Cedric Alexander. Good sir, open microphone. You're welcome on any time if you hear this. I love me some Cedric Alexander. Two of my favorite performers on all of 205 Live in this match, Gallagher and Alexander just beating the tar out of each other. It was a hard-hitting, stiff match. Tozawa and Gallagher, they both have wonderful ring presence and chemistry. Tozawa, he's just a bundle of quirky awesomeness. There's no other way to really describe him. He's just got that fun appeal. There are certain performers you watch that, whether they can go in the ring or whether they're just terrible, they still have a fun personality about them. Akira Tozawa is all that, plus the awesome in-ring work. Can't say enough good things about it. Good chain wrestling, good tag team psychology. They cut the ring in half. Heels, being heels. Tozawa plays your babyface in peril for a little bit. Gulak with the painful offense, it looks like it hurts. It probably does hurt to an extent. Alexander and his freakish agility and athleticism, he's just a beast in the ring. That dude can go. He's got great things in store for him as well. He's had an incredible run as the Cruiserweight champion. Really a credit to that title. The heels being heels. It's just a great tag team match. It's a little thin slice of heaven for the wrestling soul.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I was a big fan of this match. They did everything that needed to be done. Like you said, the ring psychology in this was great. It was right on point. I did notice that Tozawa had that little bit of a botch there right before the hot tag, but it didn't take away from the match. But I did notice it.
I call that creative license.
Creative license. There we go. I think we'll stick with that. But it played nicely into the feud that Gulak and Alexander have going on. This has been going on probably the last month or so, and so just the fact that the heels won. Gulak ended up winning with the Gulak on Tozawa, but it extends the feud going into next week's championship match between Gulak and Alexander. They obviously have the storyline hatred to each other, and it makes me look forward to what's going to happen next week.
Exactly. Everything builds to the next show, and it's sequential. It's logical. It makes sense. You don't have to have a flow chart to figure out who earns what. It's very straightforward, and that's what I love about it. It's very accessible. You don't have to, be a longtime fan to understand what's going on. It's very much, jump in, feet first, and you're in it, and you get what's going on. And this tag team main event, that's straight old school booking. Gulak and Gallagher pick up the win. Big win for that team. Gulak, of course, set up for a title match next week. Got to be honest with you. Do you think that we could see a title change next week and maybe have the shock win by Gulak to set up Gulak and Buddy Murphy in Australia in 3 weeks?
That's a good point. Yeah, because they've announced that Buddy Murphy has the title shot at the Super Show coming up in Australia, and you would think that they'd want it to be against Alexander. So I'm not sure that they would pull the trigger on putting Gulak on the title on Gulak. I'm personally expecting to see a great match that kind of ends in shenanigans of some sort, whether it's the Brian Kendrick returning from his injury. I'm not even sure what exact injury he has right now, or Gallagher getting involved. But I kind of see that Cedric's going to hold on to that title, at least for the next 3 weeks, until Buddy Murphy may or may not take it in Australia.
Buddy Murphy will definitely be, if not the odds-on favorite, he'll definitely be the crowd favorite. I mean, that's just obviously. But, I like Alexander. I love what he's done. He's had a great reign. I mean, he's really established that championship as having value. I mean, he fights to hold on to that title. He takes on all comers. He is a fighting champion. And honestly, I mean, he is absolutely, one of the best cruiserweight champions they've had, either in the current run or historically. And I know that's not saying much, but Alexander and Neville both really elevated that title to another level. And so, does it pain me that Alexander's title reign could be coming to an end? Yes. Do I think Drew Gulak will end it? Not really. But if they want Buddy Murphy to have the big win, and they don't want Alexander to get booed, which Lord knows WWE, they don't care about faces getting booed and heels getting cheered these days. Maybe they could pull a swerve on us. Drew Gulak could win the title and then be like a transitional champion for Buddy Murphy. I think we both agree Buddy Murphy could carry the title if he needed to. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, don't twist our arms. We'll make do with the Buddy Murphy title reign. It'll be difficult, but we'll endure it.
Yes, so. I think that I can endure that pain.
We settled into it nicely. So.
Yes. I personally would rather see the Buddy Murphy Alexander match, but as you say, I could see them possibly doing the Gulak Murphy match and then just saving Alexander and Murphy for later down the road. So either way is good for me. I'm not sure which way they're going to go on that one.
But you know what? Therein lies the joy that is 205 Live. There is a certain uncertainty that makes you tune in because, you don't know what's going to happen. You think you might know, but you never know, especially with, the new creative team that's been kind of handling the show over the last few months. They've developed a much more NXT-like pathway for the show. It's kind of broken off from the main roster in that sense. And so when you take into account the aesthetic of 205 Live over the last 5 or 6 months, you start to question, hey, this really might actually be possible because on a Raw or SmackDown, wouldn't expect a title change in a million years. But on 205 Live, best man up. If Gulak gets Alexander the right day, walk out as champion, defend it against Buddy Murphy, it is a logical way to tell a story. So I'm looking forward to it. Next week is going to be really fun. They got 2 great matches lined up. Noam Dar, Leo Rush has been announced, and also we're getting the title match that we've been talking about, and I'm sure we'll probably get a third match as well. But it's going to be a fun show next week. I am really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so am I. And guess that pretty much wraps up 205 Live for this week. Do you have any final thoughts on this show that you want to share?
Would we agree Buddy Murphy probably the MVP of the night for this show?
For 205 Live, yeah, definitely. Buddy Murphy's my MVP of the night for sure.
I would
And
agree.
probably Cedric Alexander, a second, or Mr. Gallagher.
Yeah, I could buy that. I mean, Buddy Murphy really got the good showcase to start the show, so he was kind of set up for it, set up to have that kind of showcase. Really, um, he like we said, he's going places. Whether he wins the title in Australia in 3 weeks, to be determined. I am leaning towards the idea that he probably could win it. It would give the show kind of higher stakes, make it feel a little important. But we'll see. It was a great show. Very much worth your time to go back. It was only about 45 minutes long in total. So not even a full hour. If you have some time to kill, I would definitely recommend this show. It's a solid B plus show.
As would I. And I agree with that assessment. Solid B plus for me as well. So yeah, next we can move on to NXT and what happened this week on NXT. So it starts with the champ, Mr. Tommaso Ciampa, coming through the crowd or walking through the parking lot and ignoring all questions and just being the general stuck-up heel that he is.
And it was glorious too. He has the power walk of a true heel. He's got that power walk down pat. So,
and you can just see like the disdain that he has for those reporters, just like oozing out of every pore in his being. The guy is like probably right now the best heel in WWE programming.
If Tommaso Ciampa had come around 30 years ago in like a Mid-South, he would need the Louisiana State Guard to get to the ring. He's just that good of a heel. And of course,
absolutely,
NXT Grandma sitting front row, Miss Anita. I love you, Miss Anita. Another open shout out to Miss Anita if she ever wants to come on. Open mic too. I mean, it's just great presence. He is just fantastic. We're going to get to his promo after the opening match, but Tommaso Ciampa is absolutely killing it right now. Best heel on NXT. It's not even close, and that's no disrespect to the Undisputed Era, who are their own brand of joyous dickheads. But, Tommaso Ciampa just takes it to another level. He is absolutely the best heel in the WWE right now, main roster or otherwise. The dude is just crushing it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then our first match of the night goes to the Brit Am Brawlers versus Adrian Jowd, I believe his last name is, and Cesar Bono. I can't even pronounce that. Bononi.
Cesar Bononi and Adrian Jowd. I call them the Brazilians. So,
I think we'll stick with that. That makes it a lot easier on me.
the fighting Brazilians, they actually got a few minutes of offense in. It wasn't a complete squash here. It was mostly a squash, but they did get a little bit, and they looked okay. I actually don't mind this tag team.
Yeah, no, I thought that in the time that they got, they looked impressive. Cesar Bononi, like the guy has the presence. Like he definitely is an impressive specimen. And I liked the little judo or Hapkido stuff that the other gentleman was doing. So yeah, it was a solid opening match. You kind of knew the outcome when it started. The right team won. Brit Am Brawlers did their thing, and it was what it was. But a good opening match. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, it's not going to rock your socks off or anything, but NXT has this innate ability to, really dive full on into tag team wrestling. Like they will put people into tag teams, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But credit to NXT, they at least try. Whether Bononi and Jowd, they work out long term, that's one thing. When Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan challenged in Chicago for the titles, nobody really gave them much of a chance. But by the end of that match, they had established themselves as a great tag team. I mean, American Alpha, it was the same way. Jason Jordan and Chad Gable had some good chemistry, but nothing too special, but they stuck with it. And after a few matches, people just bought into them. And I love that about NXT. You have these random tag teams that just kind of appear out of the ether. And, for every tag team that doesn't wind up going anywhere, you get a tag team like Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch who get themselves over just by sheer willpower. And it's just nice for a tag team wrestling mark like me. I am a huge, huge fan of tag team wrestling. If you give me a tag match and ask me to rate it, I would probably give it an extra grade or two above what anyone else would. I'm just a goober like that. But, this match in particular, nothing too special, but tag team wrestling, it's kind of hard to mess that up. So I liked it for what it was.
Yeah, exactly. And you brought up a good point with the way they kind of do the mix and match tag teams. Sometimes with the success that NXT has had, I mean, the takeover specials are amazing. You got so many amazing talents there. Sometimes I think that we forget that this is still a developmental brand. And some of these talents are still, working out the kinks and finding where they fit. So you should expect to see these makeshift tag teams sometimes get thrown together and see where things go. So, yeah, I don't mind seeing it. Like you said, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And when they do work, we get, like you said, American Alpha, the Britam Brawlers, like good, entertaining tag teams.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. You never know what's going to click. I mean, did anybody think 2-3 years ago that Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder would go from being just a random jobber tag team to one of the most popular tag teams in the business for their in-ring work? I mean, that was a random pairing that just kind of came out. Nobody really knew much about them. They hadn't been like huge stars in New Japan or anything, but you know what? They developed a chemistry. They developed a bond in the ring, their work rate, their timing. They applied themselves, they honed their craft, and they became one of the best tag teams in the world. And that's just a testament to the system. It can work if you let it. NXT gives these teams a chance. And if they sink, they sink. But if they swim, boy, do they swim.
Absolutely. And the Revival is a great example of that. It's just unfortunate that they went through the injury troubles that they did, because I think had that not happened, they would be a much, much bigger deal than they are on the main roster right now.
And now I have the sads.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So yes, then after the opening match, we moved into the champ, Mr. Ciampa, coming in to do the promo of the night.
Probably the promo of the week. I didn't watch Raw, full disclosure. I'm guessing, I'm fairly safe in assuming that Ciampa's promo was probably better than anything we got on Raw. So,
yeah, I saw Raw, and I would give you that for sure. What did you think of the new music that was debuted tonight?
I am biased in this regard. People, I have gushed about this because I'm a jerk like this. I went to TakeOver in New Orleans, WrestleMania weekend, and I think we talked about this. You were there too, weren't you?
Only in my dreams.
Oh my God, I am so sorry. Oh my God, who was I talking to that had been? I feel like a real jerk now. Was talking with somebody. I don't remember who. I thought it was you. Wow. Okay. Anyway,
it might have been George, I believe.
Oh, that's right. I tell you what, I will buy you tickets to the WWE show when they come back through Saskatchewan. Okay.
I will take you up on that wonderful offer.
In any event, I went to NXT TakeOver in New Orleans over WrestleMania weekend, and there have only been a few times that I have felt the level of not only vitriol, because there was that sheer hatred for Tommaso Ciampa. Like, we knew it was an act, but at the same time, we hated this guy's guts. And when he got powerbombed on the concrete, we were chanting, "You deserve it," which was the best use of that chant in recorded history as far as I'm concerned. and like I said, I'm biased. But not just the vitriol and the anger towards him, and he's being a great heel. just the sheer passion in that building. I have only felt that one other time in my entire life as a wrestling fan. In 1999, I was lucky enough to see a WWF title change. Steve Austin beat The Undertaker in Charlotte on an episode of Raw to win the title, and I was in the Charlotte Coliseum when he won. And that's the only time that I've ever felt that level of passion in the audience, either positive or negative, where you hate the guy or you love the guy. They love Johnny Gargano. I mean, he was our hero. We were following him to the gates of hell that night. But just the sheer, energy that Tommaso Ciampa had without the music, I gotta be honest, I really wish that he just kept on without having any theme music. Let the boos be his theme music, because it is just such an awesome heel move not to have the theme music. R-Truth used to use it to great effect a couple of years ago when he had that, brief run as a serious main eventer. No theme music, he just kind of came out. I just love the aesthetic of not having the theme music and just letting the, a serenade of boos guide you to the ring. So, I mean, the theme song is okay, but I wish he would just go back to not having any.
I agree with you on that. Like, it's such an old school heel move, and it's set him apart from everything else that was out there. That being said, the music was okay, and I do like the fact that how he tied it into his promo about the words of this song are meant for everybody. So, he used it and made something of it. So good on him for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Once again, like I said, this man is the best heel in the WWE right now. Like that line where he said that he wanted to tell everybody what the belt had said, and about keeping it off of Johnny Gargano. And then when he turns around, and you can't hear what he says on the mic, but he's talking to the belt. Like it was golden.
Thank you for putting me back in the main event. I died laughing. That was such a great line. Oh, I mean, there are certain people that just transcend everyone else. And I mean, NXT has had such a run of success with their takeover specials for so long, but I don't think we've ever seen a heel that has just reveled so much in just being a complete and utter scum of the earth human being as Tommaso Ciampa. Like, in his free time, Tommaso Ciampa kicks puppies and punches kittens and steals money from the homeless. That's the kind of evil SOB he is. It's like there is no doubt in the back of anyone's mind that Tommaso Ciampa listens to Coldplay. Okay? It's just there's a certain level. It's Dr. Evil levels of, comedic evil here. Tommaso Ciampa is so good. I mean, he is just so good, and he is going to beast on the main roster. He is easily one of the hottest prospects in their developmental system right now. This guy could be put on Raw or SmackDown and be a upper card player within 3 weeks. He's just got that kind of magnetism about him right now. It's the hottest run of his career and one of the hottest heel runs that NXT has ever had as a brand.
Absolutely. I agree with that at 100%. And I like the fact that, everybody's been thinking the whole who attacked Aleister Black thing, that it was Ciampa. And I like the fact that he denied it. And I hope that he doesn't end up being the attacker. I hope it's somebody else, just storyline wise. I think that would be the way to go. And honestly, I have to say this whole investigating who attacked Aleister Black thing may be my favorite thing in wrestling right now. The interviews that William Regal throws at his office is giving people a chance to shine on their promos. People that maybe not wrestling on the show are going to get some screen time, and it's just they've made a nice little mystery here that everyone's kind of like, well, who did it? Like, I'm very curious what's going on here.
Yeah, this is the kind of storyline. This is the long-term storytelling that the main roster used to do so well back in the old days. Now NXT has kind of taken the baton from them. Speaking of the interview segments, I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but we had another one tonight with Cassius Ohno. Just kind of establishing this little character turn that he's had here lately, where he's kind of becoming frustrated with his lack of mobility, and he's calling out none other than Matt Riddle in this little interview segment. So not only do we get another, piece of the puzzle to the Aleister Black storyline, but here comes Cassius Ohno, and he's threatening to spin off into a little debut feud for Matt Riddle. And so it's just
that was great. That was great. We got to see Kairi Sane in there as well. We'll touch on that a little bit later as we get to that. But yeah, there's some points that I wanted to make on that promo, but I did enjoy that very much. So after Mr. Ciampa's promo here, we went into Shayna Baszler versus Violet Payne. And Miss Violet definitely felt the
pain. Poor Violet. She was, if she was like a baseball player, she was the player to be named later. She's just there to kind of get the business from Shayna. I've never really talked with you off air about Shayna Baszler. Do you have any opinion on her? Because I am a huge fan of what she's done over the summer.
Miss Ronda Rousey, you are not the baddest woman on the planet. That distinction goes to Miss Baszler, in my opinion.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
There's some Tim Hortons quality donuts being thrown around here.
Of course, if Ronda ever comes up and takes offense to that, I will cower and say that Biff made me say it.
The hell you will. I'm not about to die. I'm not running anywhere on bad knees. So, although if you have to die, there are worse ways to go, I guess, than being armbarred into the ether. Yeah, it could be worse. I mean, the 2 or 3 seconds before your shoulder comes out of its socket might not be pleasant, but
Yeah, so in this match, basically the crowd had it right the whole time as they were chanting, "Shayna's going to kill you." And that is pretty much what happened. Shayna took Miss Violet Payne and basically made her look like a pretzel, and then demolished her some more, and then came back and demolished her some more. There's not much more to say about that match other than Violet Payne is dead.
Yeah, Violet Payne is sleeping. That's how the Shayna Baszler do. Just a little bit of extra topping on her jerk face milkshake, as I call it. Shayna Baszler, she's got that Rudo Hill act down to a T. She just oozes that. And I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way to appearance. I'm talking about her attitude. She just comes across as this greasy dirtball heel that just enjoys beating you up. I mean, she's like, kind of the female counterpart to a Tommaso Ciampa, where she just relishes the chance to make the fans weep. She loves to see little children cry. I mean, she's like Sasha Banks. Good Lord, Sasha Banks and Izzy a couple years ago at Takeover Respect. She sustained herself on the salty tears of the fans. Okay, and this whole business of coming back, 2 or 3 times with the rear naked choke after the match. That's heel 101 stuff. It's great. She just enjoys inflicting pain. And that's, one of the reasons why I really want to see her on the main roster, because I think she could provide, just like you said, an excellent challenge to Ronda Rousey. Everyone expects them to come up and be buddy-buddy because they're part of the MMA 4 Horsewomen. I'm telling you right now, Shayna Baszler Ronda Rousey match, my butt's in the seat watching that. I think that would be a fantastic match, and Shayna has the talent to pull it off on her end.
Oh, absolutely! Like the woman is, cockiness personified. Like she's killing it right now as a heel, and I think the run with the championship was great, and it ended the right way. Kairi Sane deserved that. And I'm looking forward to the rematch because, I mean, this is going to just be a violent, knockdown affair between these two. So yeah, that's going to be good stuff.
It's the perfect dynamic. Kairi Sane is just such a lovable baby face, and Shayna Baszler is just so easy to hate. You put, good versus evil. It's just classic storytelling. And Shayna, she has the MMA background. She was trained by Billy Robinson, so she's no slouch. She can go in the ring if she wants to, and she's picked it up faster than I think anybody thought she would over the last year and a half. Kairi Sane, no words needed. Obviously, one of the best wrestlers in the world, and definitely one of the preeminent baby faces on the roster right now for NXT. It's going to be a great match. Looking forward to it. And after that, who knows? But the sky's the limit for Shayna. She is exactly like Tommaso Ciampa. She can go up to the main roster, and within 2 or 3 weeks, she can be established as one of the top players because she's just got the presence about her. You can just tell when she walks out, she's coming to beat someone down, and she's going to have a blast doing it. And those are the best types of heels to watch because you know that they love their craft, and they apply themselves, and they're just so easy to root against, and it lets you immerse yourself in the action.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, from that match, we moved into a couple of promos. First, we had Heavy Machinery talking about Tomato Champs. So I don't know. I've been enjoying Heavy Machinery in their little promos there the last couple of weeks. Like last week with the breaking of the toilet. I mean, okay, it's juvenile humor, but they did it well. It was funny. It's giving these guys a chance to shine while they're not in the ring.
Yeah, if they don't have a place in the tag title picture right now, at least give them something to do. And I got to admit, I quite enjoyed Regal coming out. It was almost like Ciampa was getting called to the principal's office. Regal has this kind of fatherly presence even towards Ciampa, which I thought was great. Regal is just so good at his job. I love me some William Regal. He's just been a godsend to NXT. Yeah, I mean, it's innocent fun. It doesn't diminish Tommaso Ciampa in any way. And it doesn't really hurt Heavy Machinery. It gives them some TV time just to kind of keep them relevant. Whether they ever, kind of build themselves up into a credible tag team, who knows? But you know what? Stuff like this is exactly what they should be doing. Just keeps their name out there and let people know, hey, we're still here, still doing stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then from that promo, we moved into the Undisputed Era's promo. They're all good on the mic, as far as I'm concerned. They know what they're doing. Honestly, they reminded me of go back to your high school days and the cocky jocks that were on the football or the basketball team hanging out, dissing the nerds. That is totally the vibe that they gave me right there.
I'm just bemoaning the fact they can't go out in public to buy their own groceries. It's just such a tragedy. I feel so bad for them. No, what can you say? I mean, you've got 4 great workers that are all 4 tremendous heels. Roddy Strong has really fit into the group well. And I like Bobby Fish. Bobby Fish is a great worker. Kyle O'Reilly is on another level. Like, if Adam Cole is the Ric Flair of this little 4-man faction, Kyle O'Reilly is the Arn Anderson. And I say that with a certain reservation because, Arn Anderson never played air guitar on his title belt. Arn Anderson would have ascended to God tier status had he ever done that. But be that as it may, these guys are just so cool. You put it exactly right. These are the high school jocks that walk around and they can do whatever they want because they're like gods at the school. They're just so much cooler than everybody else. And that is such a refreshing act on NXT. NXT gives you people that are cool. They are awesome. Whether it's a Lars Sullivan, who we'll talk about in a moment, just a big monster beast, but he just looks cool in the way he moves around the ring. You got the Undisputed Era, who are like the jocks at a high school or college. They'll have the frat guys and the coolest people in the room. Ricochet, the things that he can do. Never, ever forget, that plancha, somersault plancha outside onto the ramp when he walks up to Velveteen Dream's face and just kind of holds his arms up. I mean, that's so awesome. these guys are just so cool. And it's a vibe that you don't feel on the main roster. Like, I don't feel coolness from the Shield anymore. I just don't. I felt it when they originally came up, but I don't feel that same level of, epicness that they used to have. Undisputed Era on the NXT stage, they've got that feel of, we are top guys, and you're eventually going to have to go through us. And that's just such a refreshing thing about the Undisputed Era, among other acts on NXT, but especially with Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Roddy Strong, and Bobby Fish. I mean, I really hope that they get a chance to shine. They could be in War Games in a couple of months. Seems perfect setup. You got factions here. You're going to need a faction in the War Games match, so we'll see where that goes. But good promo. Setting up Adam Cole as a challenger to either Ricochet or Pete Dunne in our champion versus champion match next week, which, speaking of awesome matches, I'm going to enjoy life next week. So,
you and me both, buddy. That's going to be just one hell of a match. So yeah, after the UE program, we moved into a rematch from last week's show with Lars Sullivan taking on Raul Mendoza. I was actually a little surprised by this match. I didn't think Mendoza would get the offense that he got. And you know what? He looked good. He looked pretty smooth. The kid has some upside, I think.
I agree. I mean, he was impressive in the Cruiserweight Classic, I thought. He had a pretty good performance in 2016. Lars Sullivan, I'm pretty high on Lars. I love him. He's a good big man act. He's got the kind of strength that you need to really convey a monster heel presence, because he's big for NXT. He may not be that big compared to like a Braun Strowman when he gets to the main roster, but he's got freakish strength. And, Full Sail, I love their sympathy for poor Raul here. They keep chanting one more time every time Lars is throwing him the distance of the ring. Kudos to you, Full Sail. That sympathy just, super awesome for the babyface here. But no, you're right. He had a few hope spots. It was never really in doubt what the result would be, which is fine. I mean, you have those matches in NXT where ahead of time, this guy is going to look good, but he's not getting the win. We all probably thought that, barring some sort of shocking turn, that Lars Sullivan was going to get the win here, and he did. With a freak accident, he just destroyed the poor guy. R.I.P. Raul Mendoza. Thank you for coming. I hope he gets back and gets another chance to shine. He would be good here in NXT. He'd be good in 205 Live. He's got the agility necessary to hang with some of the best, I think. So, yeah, he had a pretty good showing here, but I am really high on Lars. If you're going to squash somebody, squash him. And that's what Lars did here. He just tossed him around like a rag doll. And just a really impressive mauling here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I agree with you. He's got all the looks, all the tools to be NXT's monster heel. The only doubt that I might have had is I thought it might have gone to a non-finish with EC3 coming in to interfere, being that Lars put him on the shelf there. But yeah, that looks to be Lars' next feud. Personally, myself, I would look quite forward to seeing down the road maybe a Lars Sullivan Keith Lee feud. I think that could be, a great hoss fight.
Oh, you're giving me the vapors over here. Yeah, be still in my heart. Lars Sullivan and Keith Lee. Keith Lee, when he gets established, you've got Keith Lee and Matt Riddle are going to be coming in over the next couple of weeks. You talk about two of, just some of the most fun people to watch in the business right now. Keith Lee and Matt Riddle are going to just continue to add to the incredible depth that NXT already has. Lars Sullivan and Keith Lee, if that's not a match at TakeOver New York next year, I'm going to eat my hat, because that right there is absolutely, positively got to happen. Lars and Keith Lee have got to cross the path at some point, and that match is going to be so sweet. I can't hardly wait for that match. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, no, that's a great dream match coming up. And speaking of dream matches, our next little segment was the build and recap to the Pete Dunne Ricochet match, title versus title for next week. Now, we already touched on this a little bit, but man, this match this is going to be a barn burner.
Thank you, Based H. I love you. I love you so much. I forgive you for the reign of terror. You're so good to us, Papa H. Pete Dunne and Ricochet, good God Almighty. I mean, look, I am a huge mark for Pete Dunne. I love the bruiserweight. I love Ricochet. The dude defies gravity. He's the man that physics laughs at. Okay, it's just going to be a ridiculously awesome match. And, whoever winds up winning, whether it goes to a no contest, if the Undisputed Era gets involved, that Adam Cole, Ricochet, and maybe Pete Dunne, hopefully, they're going to have kind of some interaction moving forward. It was a really fun match between Ricochet and Adam Cole a couple of weeks ago when Ricochet won the North American title. I look forward to this match between the Cruiserweight title match next week and this champion versus champion match on NXT. I mean, you're talking about two matches that are just going to set the table for everything else. I mean, forget the fact that there's a pay-per-view on Sunday. These two matches are where it's at next week. There ain't nothing happening Sunday that's going to top either one of them, in my opinion. It's just not happening. So, come on next week and get here quick. I need this match in my life like yesterday.
Absolutely. And I got to say, Ricochet was looking like a boss in that little plum suit that he was wearing. And I loved Pete Dunne's little line about how he needs to figure out how to hold two title belts in his mouth there. So, it was a great build for what it was.
It's glorious. It's such gloriousness. Glorious gloriousness. That's my new phrase I'm going to try to get over and fail at. But glorious gloriousness, Pete Dunne. You know what? I wouldn't put it past him to figure out a way. I think that, if I had to call a finish to that match, if like on paper, if you just said one of these two men have to win, I would probably lean towards Ricochet. I'm guessing that we might get some interference in the match. I don't know that either guy's going to drop their title. But you know what? Like we said with the Cruiserweight title, you never know on NXT. This is one brand that I am fiercely protective of. I don't like to be spoiled. I don't like to know where we're going. I like to be kind of inundated with the show as it happens. So this match, I've been very careful to avoid any spoilers for it. Just give me 15 minutes of these two just tearing the house down in Full Sail, and you can do whatever you want on Sunday. I won't care. Just give me this match and like 15 minutes. That's all I need. I just need a 15-minute hit, and that'll sustain me for another 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's the match that I'm probably most looking forward to next week. So yeah, I just can't say enough about it. So from this that little build, we moved into the vignette for the Forgotten Sons. What can we say about this? Like WWE just nails these. Like this is their bread and butter. Their production teams are just amazing at these, and it was a great video. Like it, they definitely are three kind of Forgotten Sons, and I'm curious to see where they go forward from here.
It's the kind of vignette that they used to do on the main roster, and I wish they would do more of. Because like you said, it just literally, it takes nothing and turns it into something. Like now I want to see where they're going. I want to see this stable and what they're going to do. And before tonight, I had like zero interest or thought into any of them. I wasn't even aware of their existence. Okay, they were just like filed away in the little corner of my brain that was, Control-Alt-Delete territory, just in the waste bin of my brain. And in the span of 30 seconds, I'm like, all right, you have my attention. You have my curiosity. Let's see where it goes from here. That is such an integral part of the success that WWE had over the years. Taking these vignettes and just giving you a reason to care. And that's what NXT is doing right now with the Forgotten Sons. And, are they going to catch on? Who knows? But I tell you this, they have the table set for them. They've got a real chance now to showcase what they can do, and make some hay out of this little opportunity they've been given. I'm looking forward to see where it goes personally. I really liked this vignette. I really did.
Yeah, no, it was excellently done. And like I said, like WWE has a history of making these just so well. And like you said, for the main roster, I wish they would do them more. It gives you a reason to care, and that's what we do. And now we do care about these three. So then from this point, we moved into the backstage William Regal office visit with Kairi San and then Cassius Ohno, where, Regal told Ohno that, oh, yeah, we don't need to talk to you because saying, cleared you from being a suspect. But I thought that Ohno gave a great promo there about embracing his gatekeeper role and made me look forward to seeing him welcome Riddle into NXT. And also just a little note, I know that you're a history wrestling buff, just as I am. I love the fact that William Regal keeps the brass ducks on the little pedestal on his table.
Yeah.
Just a nice little nod to his history there.
Yes. Oh my God. I noticed that tonight and I was like, those cheeky bastards. That's glorious. That's great. But no, the one thing about Cassius Ohno that I like is there is a certain level of believability to what he's saying. That's what makes a great character when they're speaking truth. He has been overlooked to a certain extent. The NXT is like, a playground for fans, and every couple of months we get shiny new toys, whether it's Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano and their feud, or Aleister Black with the championship, or Andrade Cien Almas, Matt Riddle, Ricochet, Adam Cole in Undisputed Era. We're just constantly getting these new toys, and Cassius Ohno's just kind of sitting there like, I'm good too. I haven't gotten the breaks that I deserve. And so as a fan, you believe it. It's realistic. It's logical. You would expect him to have a chip on his shoulder. And I love, just something as simple as tying it into the little interviews about the Aleister Black attack. Cassius Ohno uses as a chance to get people to sit up and like, hey, you better watch this guy because he's about to, flip out on somebody. And it gets you hooked. It's a little, tiny little hooks like that make you want to keep watching. Because this show, which we'll talk about, is it the best show they've ever done? No. They've had far better shows than this week's show. But they do just enough to get you interested in next week. They just prod you enough to hook you along and like, okay, I'm going to tune in next week and see what happens. Cassius Ohno and Matt Riddle, it's going to be a fantastic match. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And from here, we move into our main event of the night. We have Bianca Belair, the EST, and the crazy one, Nikki Cross. For me, I was really looking forward to this match, but it just, I don't know, it seemed a little off right kind of from the start. Like, I don't know, it feels like they're holding back for something in the future to me. How did you feel about this one?
The exact same way. This felt like the first 5 or 6 minutes of a 15 to 20 minute 4-star classic. It's like this is just an appetizer of what they could do.
Absolutely. Like, they both had some great spots. Like, I like the little, comedy bits that they did at the start of the match there. That's comedy in wrestling done the right way. That Nikki Cross is a badass and that she can take care of business, but she still has the goofy side, and they did that well. I thought the military press by Belair was pretty impressive, and then Nikki Cross tucking Belair inside the ring skirt to give a few shots to her on the outside. I thought that was a nice touch as well.
Yeah, the finish of the match, it was very abrupt, and it was a disappointment in that respect. I would have liked to have seen the match go on longer and have an actual finish. But the brawling after the match, first of all, when Belair kind of dumped Nikki on the ramp right before the countout, that spot looked very, very painful. Like she just landed with a thunk on the metal ramp there. She had like the rear naked choke on her, or the sleeper, I think it was. And Belair just kind of fell backwards onto the metal ramp, and that's what kind of put them out for the double count out. Yeah, I agree with you. You know, Bianca Belair, I took a little bit of time for me to kind of come around on her. I didn't see the potential in her that a lot of people did. Now I see it. I am fully on board Team Belair here. That military press spot was sweet. It was just a glorious little military press. You don't see enough of those anymore, and especially from someone her size. You know, it's one thing for like a Lars Sullivan or someone to, you know, bench press someone that weighs $125 soaking wet. For, you know, Bianca Belair to get Nikki Cross up, you know, Nikki Cross, she's got a little bit of size on Belair. That's impressive. That's impressive strength and agility to be able to pull that off. So that was impressive. I love the way she carries herself around the ring. Sonya Deville is probably the prospect on the main roster that I'm most high on in terms of future potential. As far as NXT goes, Bianca Belair, she's definitely up there near the top of the list with Dakota Kai in terms of like superstar potential in the future. She's got the package, total package. She's got the charisma, she's got the mic skills, she's got the ring presence, she's got the ring work, and she's got the look. She just tell that she carries herself like a star. And so, you know, and we all love Nikki Cross, of course. That's almost a universal. That's like an axiom at this point in the universe. We must love Nikki Cross. She's like a cross between a female George the Animal Steel and the Missing Link. I mean, it's just glorious. So, yeah, good luck sleeping tonight with that thought in your head. But you know, it was a fun match for while it lasted. I wish we had gotten more, but I think we will get more over the next couple of weeks. I don't think we've seen the last of this little feud, especially given the way they brawled all over the commentary area to end the show. So we'll see where it goes, but definitely they've got a better match in them, and I hope we get a chance to see it in the future.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely enjoyed the aftermatch shenanigans more than the match itself. As you said, like that drop on the ramp looked like, oof, that looked like it hurt. And I even noticed later on as they were fighting by the announce table there that, you know, Nikki Cross's back was pretty red, looked like she had a pretty good welt for him in there. So that definitely looked like it took a little bit out of her. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up our NXT recap. Do you have any final thoughts on the show tonight?
You know, it wasn't the greatest show that they've done, and I do think that 205 Live was the better of the two shows. You know, if we're going to compare the two, 205 Live, I think, won this week. Last night's NXT episode was kind of more of a kind of a filler episode, just trying to get to next week where you're going to have the big showcase with a title for title match. But a Tommaso Ciampa promo, nothing to shake a stick at. He was awesome. Shayna Baszler doing her thing. That was a lot of fun. Even the subpar episodes of NXT are still good entertainment. It's just fun to kind of go through. It's a breezy watch. Doesn't take that long. If I had to pick an MVP on the night, Tommaso Ciampa. That promo is the best thing on this show by far. Runner-up honors to Shayna Baszler. She looked great beating down poor Violet Payne. Again, condolences to Violet Payne, meat for the meat grinder last night. But Tommaso Ciampa's promo, best I've heard in a long time. I give the nod to him. He's my MVP for last night's episode. Just a fun, breezy episode. And it's going to be even better next week. That's what's so exciting about the show that we're doing here tonight. You know, we had fun watching these two shows, but wow, I mean, next week we're really going to be in for a treat.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with you. Ciampa's definitely my MVP of the night as well. That promo was just the best promo you're going to see all week. And I would agree that 205 Live was the better show. But as you said, like these NXT, even when they're not the greatest shows, they build. They give you a reason to keep watching. So they build their filler episodes, but they build the feuds that are going on and give you a reason to keep tuning in. So, you know, I don't mind seeing these every once in a while, and because you just know, usually after you have one of these type shows, the next one's going to be straight fire. So we should be having a real treat next week.
I tell you what, it's going to be interesting next week to try and choose our Power Five when we go to create their top 5 performers. And that's probably a good time to segue into one of the segments that we want to introduce on the show called our Power Five. Basically, what we want to do is create a list of the top 5 performers from NXT and 205 Live, just to kind of give them a shout out, let them know, hey, did an excellent job. These are the people that you could go out of your way, whether it be on YouTube or the WWE Network, to try and find, just to get a sense of how great they really are. Consider it kind of our power rankings, as it were, the top 5 performers of the week. And we came in an agreement on our top 5. We were both pretty unanimous in who we thought our number 1 was. But without any further ado, why don't we jump straight in? And Greg, why don't you go ahead and announce the number 5 performer this week on our Power 5 list?
Number 5 this week goes to the 205 Live Cruiserweight Champion, Cedric Alexander.
Queen City's favorite son had a great showing in the tag team main event on Tuesday night. Just an absolute incredible athlete, a great champion, had a great performance. Looking forward to seeing what he can do with Drew Gulak next week. He's our number 5 guy. And then at number 4?
Number 4 goes to his tag team partner on the night, one Mr. Akira Tozawa.
The right mix of energy, charisma, and pure in-ring talent. He had one of the funniest segments of the week in the backstage promo before their main event. Had lion's share of the match for the babyface side. He kind of played the babyface in peril, did an excellent job at it. He's one of the unsung heroes of 205 Live, kind of a workhorse on that brand. Just a great performer all around. But I'll tell you what, number 3, we were just gushing about him. I'm going to let you do the honors for this one because I know that you absolutely loved his promo, and there's a reason he's number 3 on this week's Power 5.
Yes, number 3 is Tommaso Ciampa. Once again, the man knows how to get the heel heat. The promo was great. There's all sorts of beautiful little touches, like talking to the belt, referencing his song. If you want to see the best promo you're going to see in WWE this week, do yourself a favor and look this one up.
Absolutely. Tommaso Ciampa coming in at number 3. In a runner-up spot for the Power 5 this week, we have a gentleman from England who is all class, but my God, he throws a great headbutt. Gentleman Jack Gallagher.
Once again, this gentleman he's amazing. He does all the little things right. I'm always amazed for as slight a frame as the guy has, just the power that he packs. Like, I've seen him deadlift guys that there's no reason that he should be deadlifted. So yeah, number 2 goes to Gentleman Jack. And number 1, Biff, if you would like to do the honors, who takes the number 1 spot this week?
Well, we talked about this, and this wasn't all that difficult of a decision. We both agreed this guy was the most impressive performer of the week. And if we had been doing this from the weeks past, he probably would have been number 1 more often than not. Our number 1 spot this week goes to Buddy Murphy, the juggernaut of 205 Live. He had another incredible match with Grand Metalik. Just compiling these incredible performances. He's definitely in the running for having one of the best qualitative years in the WWE. He's definitely one of the standout performers on 205 Live. And I think we're both in agreement. Buddy Murphy versus Grand Metalik was definitely the match of the week between 205 Live and NXT. So if you need a match to get on the network and find this week, Murphy and Metalik from 205 Live on Tuesday night was awesome. He is our number 1 ranked wrestler in this week's Power 5. Now, we'll be doing this week to week. It's just kind of a segment that we want to introduce to kind of give some kudos, as it were, to some of the performers that we thought stood out and deserve some recognition. We'll be doing it for 205 Live and NXT. Some weeks we may have more from NXT. Some weeks we may have more from 205 Live. This week it was just a 205 Live heavy episode. But in addition to the Power 5, we have a very cool feature, and I'm looking forward to this. And I think we all know who's going to win it, too. Greg, you like to talk about submissions. You love submissions. I mean, my God, it's in your name. You know, I mean, it's your bread and butter. And so we got to name a submission of the week. We got to give that award out too.
And yeah, so this week's Greg the Hold submission of the week goes to Miss Shayna Baszler for the rear naked choke, not once, not twice, but 3 times on Miss Violet Payne.
And once again, flowers may be sent to the memorial for Miss Payne. She's sleeping at Full Sail right now. I mean, there was only 2 options this week. It was either Shayna Baszler or Drew Gulak. And as much as we like the Dragon Sleeper, Shayna Baszler with the rear naked choke, that is absolutely our submission of the week. Go find that match if you just like to see pure heel enjoy beating the crap out of somebody. Shayna Baszler with the rear naked choke is our submission of the week. And so that's our Power 5 and submission of the week. Those are features we'll be bringing in. We got a lot more that we're going to be bringing in week to week. We're going to be rotating some features in and out, doing some news segments when we have news to cover, profiles on performers from 205 Live, NXT, or the Developmental Center down in Orlando when the case may warrant it, talking about new signings, preview the takeovers, future episodes of 205 Live and NXT week to week. Just got all sorts of good stuff, man. This is going to be such a fun show moving forward. I am so looking forward to getting into this.
As am I. This has been a long time in the making, and I'm glad that we finally got it off the ground. And I hope everybody out there enjoys it. Feel free to hit us up on Twitter. We'll give you the info shortly here, and leave us some comments. Anything you liked, anything you thought might could use a little bit of improvement.
Absolutely. We'll put the information down in the info box. And if you go to our YouTube channel, you can find our email. It's listed there along with access to our Twitter. Be sure to tweet us. If you have a podcast that you would like to see plugged on the show, send us a tweet. Let us know that you listen and that you like what we're doing. We work with you. We're kind of like that. Well, Greg is. I'm kind of a jerk, but he's nice. He'll help you out, and I'll grin and bear it. So give us a tweet. Let us know what you think. I mean, hey, we're doing this show because we love wrestling. We are lifelong fans. And, Greg, I know for a fact, with the articles that you wrote with your son's reaction, you love to be enjoying wrestling. You don't want to view it from a cynical perspective. I don't want to be a cynic about it. I've become such a huge cynic of the main roster. So it's fun for us to just sit back, enjoy wrestling for a change, and talk about a show that we both like. Last night's NXT, even as a filler episode goes, was just good. It's fun to get up and just talk about it this morning and just enjoy wrestling. And that's what we hope you guys do with this show. We hope you enjoy it. If you like it, pound that subscribe button, set up alerts to get all of the content that we'll be providing for you. We're going to make this channel something special, guys. We're committed to giving you a podcast that is both fun to listen to, it's interesting, it's informative, and it helps share the love for 205 Live and NXT. That's our goal. Greg, I know you would agree with that. We're just here to have fun and enjoy wrestling.
100%.
Well, I guess that will about wrap it up. You want to take us home?
Sounds good. If you want to send us a message or contact us, you can tweet us at Grounds for Development, or well, I guess it's not Grounds for Development. It's Grounds for Dev1. So all one word, DEVE1 at the end. Please send us a tweet, and we will definitely respond to you as soon as we can. If you want to contact me personally, my Twitter is GW Klein, KLEIN 75. Or you can find me hanging out on the daily and other threads at Cage Side Seats. Where can they get a hold of you there, Biff?
Well, when I'm not floating down the river from the hurricane that's coming in, I'll be at Cage Side Seats. You can find me in the daily and nightly threads generally when I'm not being a lazy guy. You can find me on the Twitter machine at RealDealBiff. All the contact information will be in the doobly-doo down below. So you can just copy and paste it if you need to. Or if you're in Charlotte and you enjoy the bar scene, hey, I'll see you there too. Okay, maybe not the bars. Maybe a McDonald's. I'm a little poor right now, but I'm having fun, so it's all good, dude.
Excellent. We hope that you enjoyed this week's episode, and I hope that we see you in the future.
Take care, guys. Have a good week.